What if I told you that one of the kindest, most humble actors in Hollywood was publicly disrespected and no one realized who he was? That's exactly what happened to Keanu Reeves at a crowded event. He was turned away, judged by his simple clothes, and treated like he didn't belong. But what Keanu did the very next day didn't just shock the staff. It changed the entire event and left everyone speechless. This is the story you won't forget. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now let's dive into what really happened. You won't believe what happened to Michael Jordan, because even the greatest basketball player of all time wasn't immune to being disrespected. It all unfolded at a star-studded charity event, buzzing with excitement. The venue was packed with fans, celebrities, media cameras, and event organizers hustling to make sure everything ran perfectly. People had come expecting a once-in-a-lifetime moment, witnessing MJ, the living legend who had dominated the NBA for over a decade, walk into the room. They expected cheers, flashes, admiration, the full superstar treatment. But what actually happened was shocking. Jordan arrived quietly, almost blending into the crowd. He was dressed in his typical relaxed style, simple jeans, a crisp shirt, and his signature sneakers. There was no entourage, no flashing security detail, no red carpet entrance. He simply walked up to the front door, ready to attend the event like any other guest. That's when the problem began. A young security volunteer, who clearly didn't recognize him, stepped forward and blocked his path. Placing a hand firmly on Jordan's chest, he said, "Sorry, sir. This area is for VIP guests only." At first, Jordan smiled politely, assuming it was a simple misunderstanding. He opened his mouth to explain who he was, but before he could speak, the volunteer waved over another staff member. "This guy's probably trying to sneak in," he said loudly, almost accusingly, as if Jordan were a troublemaker. Immediately, the surrounding crowd started reacting. People whispered, pointed, and pulled out their phones to capture what they assumed was a funny or unusual moment. Yet despite the growing attention, no one stepped forward to correct the mistake or to verify his identity. Michael Jordan, the man who had carried teams to championships, who had changed the game forever, was being treated like a minor inconvenience. Even in the face of public humiliation, he didn't argue. He didn't demand recognition. He didn't flex the fame and legend he had earned over decades. Instead, he calmly nodded, turned around, and walked away without saying a single word. The irony was striking. The basketball superstar who had inspired millions, who had dominated the sport and the world's attention, had been rendered invisible by a simple misunderstanding. No one at the event could have predicted what Michael Jordan would do the next day, and how completely he would change the atmosphere for everyone present. Inside the venue, chaos was quietly brewing. The organizers, who had spent weeks preparing every detail, were suddenly realizing that something had gone terribly wrong. Michael Jordan, the guest of honor, the headline attraction, and the reason many high-profile donors had bought tickets, had not been seated. His name was printed clearly on the program. His speech was scheduled for prime time. His presence was supposed to be the highlight of the evening, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity. Yet, despite all the planning, the staff only discovered the disaster after seeing a flood of confused and increasingly panicked posts on social media. Fans who had noticed the mix-up began tweeting and posting photos. One volunteer nervously typed, "Some tall guy tried to act like he was Michael Jordan today." Another wrote, "I swear he looked just like MJ, but no way he'd show up alone wearing jeans." The posts went viral within minutes. By the time organizers realized what had happened, whispers and uneasy glances had spread across the staff like wildfire. Everyone who had worked so hard to ensure a perfect event now felt a sinking sense of panic. The director immediately picked up the phone and called Jordan's manager. "We are so sorry," they said. "Please tell Michael this was a terrible mistake. We'll fix it right away." The response, however, was unexpected. Calmly, the manager said, He doesn't want anything fixed today. He says he'll handle it." Those words alone sent a chill through the team. Michael Jordan rarely lost his composure, and when he did, the repercussions were unforgettable. The room went silent. Staff members exchanged worried glances, unsure whether to be nervous, relieved, or even intimidated. No one could predict what he meant by "he'll handle it." Would he be angry? Would he cancel? Would he confront the staff? The uncertainty hung over the venue like a heavy cloud. Yet one thing was clear: Michael Jordan wasn't the type to overreact impulsively. Anyone who had worked with him knew that when he made a move, it was deliberate, precise, and unforgettable. The staff could only wait and hope they would witness a moment that would ultimately turn embarrassment into something far more extraordinary. The next morning, the venue was quiet, the chaos from the previous day still fresh in the minds of the staff. Everyone was bracing themselves for what might happen next. Suddenly, a sleek, dark SUV pulled up to the entrance. The doors opened, and out stepped Michael Jordan. Not in his casual jeans and shirt from yesterday, but in a sharply tailored suit that radiated quiet confidence. Every step he took seemed to announce, "I'm not here to be overlooked today." This time, there was no mistaking who he was. The same volunteer who had stopped him the day before turned pale, his heart pounding. He stumbled forward, words catching in his throat. "Mr. Jordan, I'm so sorry about yesterday." The volunteer looked as if he might melt into the floor from embarrassment. Jordan, however, did something completely unexpected. He placed a gentle hand on the man's shoulder and said calmly, "Don't be sorry. Just help me out today." For a moment, the volunteer couldn't speak. He had expected anger, fury, perhaps even demands that he be reprimanded or removed. Instead, Michael Jordan displayed nothing but grace, humility, and understanding. Jordan walked inside the venue, and immediately the room seemed to hold its breath. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Cameras swung toward him. People froze, unsure of what he would do next. And then, he did something that stunned everyone even more. Rather than heading straight to the VIP lounge or the press area, Jordan walked toward the general admission line, where everyday fans were waiting patiently. He shook hands, laughed, posed for photos, and spoke with each person who wanted a moment with him. The crowd could hardly believe it. One young boy finally asked, wide-eyed, "You're the greatest ever. Why are you standing here with us?" Jordan smiled warmly and replied, "Because greatness starts here, not in VIP." The room erupted in cheers. Phones were raised, cameras clicked, and the energy in the venue transformed completely. Yet even as the crowd celebrated, Jordan had more to give. He wasn't just here to make amends or correct yesterday's mistake. He was here to deliver a lesson, a moment that would linger far beyond the night and remind everyone what true greatness really means. When Michael Jordan finally stepped onto the stage, a sudden hush fell over the entire room. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The flashing cameras paused as everyone turned their attention to the legendary athlete. After the embarrassing incident of the previous day, people braced themselves. Some expected anger, others expected a scolding, and a few even whispered among themselves, wondering if Jordan would publicly call out the staff or express frustration. But Michael Jordan isn't the type to let ego guide his actions. He exuded calm confidence as he looked over the audience, scanning the room filled with celebrities, organizers, volunteers, and fans alike. Then, with his steady, clear voice, he began. "Yesterday, I was turned away at the door. And honestly, it didn't bother me, because I learned something early in life. Respect isn't about who you are on paper. It's about how you treat people every single day." The room was completely still. People weren't just listening, they were reflecting. There was a deep sense of humility in his words, and everyone could feel it. Jordan wasn't just telling a story about himself. He was teaching a lesson for life. He continued, his tone calm but powerful. Some of the hardest working people in the world are the ones no one recognizes. The ones working the doors. The ones volunteering. The ones wearing the badges instead of the suits. If you only show respect to people you think are important, then you don't understand respect at all. Heads nodded across the room. Some guests whispered quietly to each other in agreement. Others wiped away tears, deeply moved by the authenticity of his words. Jordan's speech wasn't about fame, wealth, or status. It was about humanity, empathy, and the value of treating everyone with dignity. Then he delivered the final, unforgettable line. So from today forward, I challenge everyone in this room, whether you're VIP or not, to make others feel seen. Because you never know who you're talking to or who they might become. The audience erupted in applause, loud, heartfelt, and overwhelming. Volunteers and staff who had felt embarrassed and overlooked the day before were now celebrated. Cameras flashed endlessly, capturing the moment, but nothing could match the genuine energy and emotion in the room. In that instant, everyone understood that greatness isn't measured by titles, money, or recognition. True greatness, Jordan reminded them, is measured by how we uplift and respect others, no matter who they are. That night, Michael Jordan didn't just give a speech. He left a lesson for life, one that every person in that room would carry with them forever. After Michael Jordan's speech, the atmosphere in the venue shifted dramatically. It was as if a weight had been lifted off everyone's shoulders. People who had been quietly standing in corners, unsure how to act after the previous day's embarrassment, now began to smile, laugh, and express genuine gratitude. Volunteers who had felt overlooked were suddenly being thanked by attendees, celebrities, and organizers alike. Celebrities, who earlier may have stayed in VIP sections, now walked through the crowd, shaking hands and interacting with fans who had been waiting patiently for hours. Organizers approached staff members personally, apologizing for the mistake and acknowledging their hard work. The energy of the event transformed completely, from tense and awkward to warm, welcoming, and filled with joy. And then came the moment that perfectly captured Michael Jordan's character. The volunteer who had stopped him at the door the day before, the same man who had been mortified by the mix-up, was approached by Jordan. With a calm smile, Jordan asked to take a picture together. He even signed the volunteer's badge, writing, "To the guy doing his job, Michael Jordan." That image quickly went viral, not because Jordan had been disrespected, but because of the way he responded. He didn't yell, he didn't shame anyone, and he didn't demand special treatment. Instead, he demonstrated what true greatness really looks like: humility, respect, and the ability to turn an uncomfortable or humiliating situation into a positive lesson for everyone. The event continued with an energy that no one had expected. Donations poured in at record rates, and many credited the incredible generosity not just to the cause, but to Jordan's reaction. He had set an example for everyone in the room, showing that leadership and influence come not from status, money, or fame, but from how you treat others, especially in moments where no one is watching. That day, everyone learned a crucial lesson. Being a legend isn't always about scoring points on the court or winning championships. Sometimes, it's about demonstrating respect, showing humility, and uplifting those around you. Michael Jordan's actions reminded everyone that true greatness is measured by character, not accolades. And for everyone present, it was a moment that would stay with them forever, a living example of how one person can transform an event and even inspire the world, simply by treating others with dignity and kindness.